All right, clap once if you can hear me. You should be in your seats. Level 0. Getting ready for our read aloud. Yeah. Bella?
I remember what they're talking about.
Okay, so we're going to wait till everyone's at level 0. And what were they talking about, Bella?
They just found out that one of the rats is he's trying to be the part of their team.
Okay. They just found out a rat is going to try to be part of their team. Emma.
And is it Maris? And I just remember his name. The one that touches the leaf.
Vicus.
And Vicus are gonna leave, and they're gonna leave them with the rat.
Vicus and Meredith and Solivet are going to leave to go back to fight the war. Yunazi.
Gregor and them don't know the way to the place that they need to go.
Yep. The questers do not know the way where they're going. Last one, Lauren.
They're safely away from the spinners.
Okay, they got safely away from the spinners. All right, this is actually part 3. It is called The Rat. Chapter 19. Stay you, cried Vicus, as Lauxa, Henry, and Meredith sprang up, swords in hand. Stay you! The rat regarded the 3 armed humans with amusement. Yes, stay you, or I shall be forced to move, and that always puts me in a bad mood, he said languidly. Lauxa and Meredith stopped uncertainly, but Henry ignored Vicus's command and lunged at the rat. Without moving another muscle, the rat flipped its tail. It cracked like a whip, knocking the sword from Henry's hand. The blade spun across the stone floor and slammed into the cavern wall. Henry gripped his wrist in pain. The hardest lesson for a soldier to learn is to obey orders he believes are wrong, said the rat philosophically. Take care, lad, or you shall end up like me, stripped of any respectable rank and warming your shabby old hide at the fire of your enemies. The rat nodded at the old man. Vicus? Rip Red, said Vicus with a smile. We have just started dining. Will you join us? I thought you'd never ask, said Rip Red, pushing himself off the wall and slouching over to the fire. He squatted back on his haunches next to Solivet. My dear Solivet, how kind of you to fly out to greet me, and with a war going on too. I could scarcely have missed this opportunity to break bread with you, Rip Red, said Solivet. Oh, come now, you know perfectly well you only came along to get information out of me, said Rip Red, and to brag over your victory at the flames. I destroyed you, said Solivet with glee. Your army turned tail and ran howling into the river. Army, snorted Rip Red. Why, they were as much an army as I am a butterfly. I'd have stood a better chance fighting with crawlers. The rat looked at Temp and Tick, who were cowering against the wall, and sighed. Present company accepted, of course. Boots frowned and toddled over to Rip Red. She pointed her chubby finger up at him. You mouse! Yes, I'm a mouse. Squeak, squeak. Now, shoo, shoo, back to your little bug friends, said Rip Red, picking up a hunk of dried beef. He tore off a piece with his teeth and noticed Boots hadn't moved. He pulled back his lips to reveal a row of jagged teeth and gave her a sharp hiss. "Oh!" said Boots, scurrying back to the roaches. "Oh! Don't do that," said Gregor. The rat turned his glowing eyes on him, and Gregor was shocked by what he saw there. The intelligence, the deadliness, and most surprisingly, the pain. This rat was not like Fangor and Shed. He was much more complicated and much more dangerous. For the first time in the Underland, Gregor felt completely out of his league. If he fought this rat, he wouldn't stand a chance. He would lose. He would be dead. "Ah, this must be the warrior," said Rip Red softly. "How very like your daddy you are." "Don't scare my sister," said Gregor, trying to keep his voice steady. "She's only a baby." "From what I hear, she's got more guts than the whole lot of you combined," said Rip Red. "Of course, courage only counts when you can count. I'm presuming the rest of you can count, and will be getting some courage any minute now?" The rat glanced around at Lauksa, Merith, and Henry, who were keeping their distance. The bats were extending and folding their wings, unsure of what to do. "Well, come on then. Isn't anyone else hungry? I hate dining alone. It makes me feel so unloved." "I did not prepare them, Rip Red," said Vicus. "Clearly," said the rat, "clearly my arrival is an unexpected pleasure." He went to work on his beef bone, making an awful scraping sound. "Meet you, Rip Red, the Gnar," said Vicus to the group. "He shall be joining the quest as your guide." There was a quick, breathy sound as half of those gathered inhaled sharply. A long pause followed in which no one breathed. Gregor tried to make sense of what Vicus had announced so calmly. A rat. He was leaving them in the hands of a rat. Gregor wanted to object, but his throat had frozen. Finally, Lauksa spoke up in a voice hoarse with hatred. "No, he shall not. We do not travel with rats." "The prophecy of Gray requires it, Lauksa," said Salavet. "One Gnar beside." "Beside could mean anything," snarled Henry. "Perhaps we leave the Gnar dead beside us." "Perhaps you do, but having witnessed your last attack, I doubt it," said Rip Red, starting on a wedge of cheese. "We have killed 5 rats since midday," said Lauksa. "You mean the idiots that I hand-picked for cowardice and ineptitude? Oh, yes, bravo, your highness. That was a masterly piece of combat," said Rip Red, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Do not flatter yourself you have yet fought a rat." "They themselves killed Fangor and Shed," said Merith bravely. "Well then, I stand corrected. Fangor and Shed were excellent fighters. On the rare occasions they were sober," said Rip Red. "However, I expect they were outnumbered and somewhat thrown by the arrival of our warrior. What say you, warrior? Do you refuse to go with me as well?" Gregor looked into Rip Red's mocking, tortured eyes. He wanted to refuse, but if he did, could he ever find his dad? As if following his thoughts, Vicus spoke up. You need Rip Red to guide you to your father. These tunnels are unmapped by humans. You would never find your way without him. Still, he was a rat. Gregor had only been in the Underland a few days, and he already despised rats. They had killed Laux's and Henry's parents, imprisoned his father, and almost eaten him and Boots. He felt a kind of power surging through him when he thought of how much he hated them. But if all rats were bad, who was this strange creature staring at him from across the fire, offering to be their guide? So, what's in this for you? Said Gregor to Rip Red. A fair question, said Rip Red. Well, warrior, I am planning to overthrow King Gorger, and I need you to help me. By doing what? Said Gregor. I don't know, admitted Rip Red. None of us does. Gregor rose and caught Vicus by the arm. I have to talk to you alone, he said. The anger in his voice surprised even himself. Well, he was angry. The rat was not part of what he had agreed to. This was not what he had signed on for. Vicus took Gregor's mood in stride. Maybe he had expected it. They walked about 20 yards away from the group. So, how long have you had this plan with the rat? Asked Gregor. Vicus thought a moment. I'm not sure exactly. Perhaps 2 or so years. Of course, it all depended on your arrival. How come you didn't tell me about it before? Demanded Gregor. I do not believe in giving people more information than they can handle, said Vicus. Who says I can't handle it? I can handle it, said Gregor, obviously not handling it. Perhaps you can, at least more easily than Lauxa and Henry. I may well have told you if we had ever finished our discussion on the prophecy of Gray, said Vicus. No doubt you would have asked, and yes, I may well have told you. Gregor pulled the prophecy from his pocket and said, Well, let's finish it now. He searched out the part of the prophecy where they had left off. That might be where I need to stop. Because there's like 3 more pages.
Well, just use one more page. No.
Are all of you still interested in hearing it?
Yes. Yes.
I know, I'm considering the time. Yes, we're going to stop here.
No.
Okay. So, I know. So, tell me what you've heard today, because this is a very new event that has just happened, an unexpected event. So, what did you hear? What is happening now? Mason?
That the Nor in the prophecy is a rat that will help them get to his dad.
Okay. The Nar, one Nar beside, is in the prophecy that will help him get to his dad. Corey?
That's a rat, and then the gangs, they different forces.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
so now, what I think is the rat is coming to the trap.
Okay. Derek? No, it does not mean narwhal. It does mean rat. So, just your opinion. Raise your hand if you think Rip Red is going to be their ally, their friend.
No.
Raise your hand if you think Rip Red will turn on them and actually be their enemy. Okay. Okay, so more think that he will be their enemy. A few think he will be their friend. Okay, maybe we will find out later.